So, in this short webinar, I'm going to talk about how you can create abundance. And the approach here is that I want to show you the big picture so that you can benefit from a variety of ideas. Because today, with artificial intelligence, it is really the idea that matters the most. And before you can have a good idea for a business or a product, you need to take a look at the big picture. But before we get into this webinar, let me share my observation about how I've seen people in the past, how they go about creating a new business. So typically, the entrepreneur will have, let's say, passion or some interest in a field, and he or she would go out there and create a product, or they might create a service. So they perform the service and they get paid in return. So first of all, a service is not good because it's not scalable. So typically they would create a product, and so they're really focused on what they can do, their skill set, their experience, their education, etc. And so they create this product, and then they try to market this product to a group of buyers. It's not even a market because they don't have a good understanding of what a market is. It's a homogeneous group of people, and so they're selling to other people, and they're trying to get money in return. Now, that's typically what most entrepreneurs are doing. It's a very micro approach. They don't have the big picture. So, like I said, in today's age where AI is doing most of the execution, you don't have to do that. You can actually zoom out and you can see the big picture, and therefore you can go where making money is easy. It reminds me of the phrase, the answer that the bank robber gave to a reporter. The reporter asked him, "Why do you rob banks?" And he says, "It's because that's where the money is." So, in the same manner, instead of going about it in a very uh, micro fashion like this, which is not scalable, it's not going to help you to create a big business because you're selling to one or two customers and then you try to replicate but it doesn't work. This is really not the professional way to start a business. The professional way is where you have the big picture and you identify the source of abundance on the left hand side. So here, let me just change the color. So here you have the supply of information, supply of raw materials, etc. This is where you're getting the main stuff to create your product with. And here at the intersection of the two triangle, you have some algorithm, some method that will allow you to reduce or transform this supply of information or materials into something like a product. So this is where you create a product. It could be an information product, it could be a physical product, but this is where you're actually creating value. Because what is abundant here usually doesn't have value. It could have value, but the value is going to be very low, so it's difficult to sell. So here we have an abundant supply of information or materials, and so it has very low value. So you can't really sell it. So from this low value supply of information or materials, you create a product that has higher value. And you create this product by using an algorithm or some kind of processing scheme, some kind of work method. So usually it's supposed to be a proprietary method that will allow you to process or transform the abundant raw material or information into a product that you can sell. Now, sell to whom? Well, that's the right hand side where you have to find an abundant source of customers. So in a nutshell, when we zoom out and you look at the big picture, we see that, first of all, you have to focus on this side where you have to find a source of information or materials, what we call the supply. You have to then use an algorithm in order to transform the supply of information into a product that you can sell. It can be a physical product, but more and more it tends to be a digital product. And then you sell this product to a market that has a growing customer base, or a big market. Ideally, it should be a worldwide market, especially if you're selling a digital product like a video course or a software program or a web application. And so in a nutshell, at a very high strategic level, this is how you should structure your business model. And this is not the right way to go about it because, like I said, most entrepreneurs don't have a strategic view of the whole picture, and therefore they start with themselves. It's a solo endeavor. They try to create a product that is usually not that good, and then they sell to one or two customers, but they're not selling to a market. So they're doing everything wrong, basically. And so what I'm teaching you here is like very valuable because it's not taught anywhere. And yet it makes sense, right? It makes sense because if you're basing your business on an infinite or an almost infinite supply of information or raw materials, and you have a proprietary algorithm that will allow you to create more and more products from the supply of information or materials, and then you're targeting a large market that has tens of thousands or even millions of customers, then of course your company has a very high chance of success. And so that's really the idea behind my webinar series, How to Create Abundance. It's not about going into business and creating a so-so product and then trying to sell to people. When you go into business, it's not about trying to do something. You have to succeed. And so this method that I'm sharing with you, where you have an infinite supply of information, you have a secret algorithm, and you have an infinite supply of customers, you're basically putting all the chances on your side, and it's going to be hard for you to fail. Because like the bank robber's answer to the reporter, he's robbing banks because that's where the money is. That's the fastest way to make money. The fastest way to make money is to take money. Of course, in our case here, the business is legitimate. You're not robbing anybody. And so that's the whole idea behind the webinar series, How to Create Abundance.